It's time for the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Blake Sloan, one of the top real estate agents not only on the Grand Strand, but in the world. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, the Wall Street Journal, NBC, and many other publications. And now, the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Get out your pens, get out your papers, pencils, notebooks, whatever you need. Get ready to get down a lot of information today because that's what's coming your way in the next 30 minutes. It's the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan of the Sloan Realty Group. I'll be giving you numbers, contact information throughout the next 30 minutes, but I'll go ahead and give it to you here right initially so that you can have this stuff down. But if you miss it, just like I said, make sure and get it a little bit later on in the show. 808-SOLD. That's the phone number, 843-808-SOLD. Also, the website to go to get all the information you'll be hearing about today, BlakeSloanRadio.com. And also, if you'd like to email, feel free anytime. Ask@BlakeSloanRadio.com. That's ask@BlakeSloanRadio.com. Without further ado, Blake Sloan's joining us. Blake, got a busy show for us in the next 30 minutes.
Absolutely. Good morning. We got tons and tons to talk about. The biggest thing, we have a ticking time bomb for home owners based on some of the physical cliff stuff that we had talked about last week. We're going to dig a little deeper into that, into how exactly that affects them and why that clock is ticking for them in regards to what they need to do. We also have a special guest to help us with that. He's our head negotiator in regards to short sales. He's a short sale expert, and his name is Randy Privet. He'll be here with us in a second to kind of talk about that and some of the options that they have. And we got some pretty significant mortgage news that goes on the heels of what we talked about last week after that Fed meeting. And of course, we got some smoking hot deals for everyone at the end of this show. We just got a price on that big $1 million oceanfront house that's on the ocean and on the inlet in deep water as well. So we'll give that price out and also try to get access to all the new deals as soon as you get to market.
Yeah, don't go anywhere because at the very end of the show we got those smoking hot deals, and every week I'm just amazed at what's available out there, so you'll want to stick around for that. Now, if you haven't tuned in previous weeks and you're not really familiar with who Blake is, let me give you a quick little update here. Blake is just an amazing story. Basically, the real estate whiz kid has been featured in Forbes, Wall Street Journal, NBC, Realtor magazine, many other national publications. If you listen to this radio station often, I'm sure you do, you've heard him personally endorsed by Sean Hannity and Glenn Beck. Pretty good stuff. Now, last week we learned a little about how you and your team work. That's why they call it teamwork. And how a good portion of your success has come from your trademark systems that you've developed to both help buyers and sellers here in the market. If you could recap just really quickly what you do and how that works.
Absolutely, and that's one thing that we just kind of want to ingrain and make so important to everyone out there that has, maybe thinking about anything regarding real estate. The single most important variable that determines your failure or success as a buyer or a seller in today's marketplace is 100% related to the agent that you choose to represent you. Again, so your success or failure, doesn't matter if you're buying, doesn't matter if you're selling, is 100% dependent upon the agent that you choose to represent you. Where the biggest mistake people make is they choose, or they think that most real estate agents are a commodity, they're all the same. It couldn't be further from the truth. It's just like, doctors, lawyers, anything at all, it makes such a massive difference because there's so many variables to that process. Each on the home buying process, there's over 100 different variables from start to finish. Same thing on the home selling side. What happens is, if each of those are managed properly, that's going to give you a big advantage through the entire system. And what our entire system, the Guaranteed Sold system, it practically manages all those variables through the home selling process to sell homes faster and for 21% more money than traditional methods and regular statistics, even here in our marketplace. And our Unfair Advantage home buying program allows buyers to actually have someone represent them as a true expert through the entire process, gets them access to the absolute best deals before most realtors even know about them. But it's much more than just searching and finding houses. We're able to get you access to the absolute best financing based on situations. We've searched out and found the absolute best lenders who lend the most money for the best rates, depending on what type of purchase they are. Are they a first-time home buyer, the investor? We're able to match that person up with that. We're also able to utilize the amount of volume we do as a team to get better rates and be able to help our clients get the absolute best deal possible when it comes to financing, home inspections, all the way through the entire process. And each of our systems are proven and they're engineered piece by piece to give you absolute maximum leverage through the entire process. And that's something that's really cool, and we'll kind of talk, if we have any time, it's a huge mistake that home sellers make the first of the year because it's now flooded with a lot of new homes. Everybody kind of takes that action the first of the year, and we'll explain exactly how to avoid the biggest mistake that most of them make.
A lot of stuff coming up in the next 30 minutes, so be listening. Of course, it's all right here during the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan from the Sloan Realty Group. Going to take a little break here real quick. Be back in about 60 seconds and tell you more about numbers. It's real estate update time. We've got some statistics, also mortgage information, interest rates. It's all coming your way in just a second. Remember, if you want to get in touch with Blake Sloan, 808-SOLD, that's 808-SOLD. Also go online to the website at BlakeSloanRadio.com.
Hey, it's your friend Sean Hannity. Now, if you own property in Myrtle Beach, the national marketing plan of the
Dave,
realtor that you choose...
what time do we start? You know, how many minutes are we?
That's exactly
how many minutes are we in?
Blake Sloan at Sloan Realty Group. Now, Blake has a marketing system...
Well, that's 6 minutes in. How many minutes?
Well, at the end of this commercial, we're going to be about 6.5.
Okay. Gotcha. All right, thank you.
All right. Almost agents rely on yard signs and open houses that attract the occasional buyer. Blake attracts hundreds of buyers each month, which creates demand and helps their property sell fast for top dollar. That's why, on average, Blake sells a property every single day of the year and is ranked among the top 100 agents in the entire U.S. by the Wall Street Journal. Now, working with Blake is risk-free. If you're not happy, Blake gives you the freedom to cancel your contract and pay nothing. So give Blake a call today at 808-SOLD. That's 808-SOLD. Or just go online and see Blake's interview on NBC at BlakesGuaranteed.com. BlakesGuaranteed.com. And be sure to listen to Blake's Real Estate Show every Sunday morning at 9 and Saturday mornings at 8.
It's the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show. Welcome back. Blake Sloan from Sloan Realty Group here to tell us numbers. That's what we look at every week, some of the numbers. The real estate update, what's happening in the world of real estate right now?
Yeah, we still kind of, everybody's, each different, I guess, organization on a national level is still kind of getting all the final numbers in from December, which will cap off 2012, obviously. But we just got some reports here from Real Trends, which is a big tracking company. They're one of the largest and the best out there for national numbers. We're still waiting on our local numbers. Everybody knows they come out about 15th, 16th of the month. Here we're able to get those, so as soon as we get those, we'll share those with you guys. But January 10th, Real Trends, they released their housing report for 2012, and they showed the combination of new and existing home sales through December 2012 strengthened from the prior year. So they had their final December numbers, and December sales 2012 were up well above December 2011. And that was up about 400,000 units is what they determined it in. But the most important part here is the average price of homes sold in December was up 18.1% from the average price of homes December 2011. That's obviously, as always approach those a little caution for those averages because it can be skewed by any part of the nation, any certain things. So that's what we usually use median. But here's the most important part that we found in that report is that home prices, that marked the 9th consecutive month of increased home sale prices. So to anybody talking about, you know, hitting the bottom, scraping the bottom, obviously we haven't quite hit that here locally yet with our numbers, but like we talked about last month with those numbers, where it looks like we're scraping it, starting to upturn, at least where we're at, and we're usually behind that curve, you know, from the Floridas, you know, California, Nevada by 3 to 6 months. So we're hoping to get that very, very soon here in our marketplace. We've seen the sales go up. We've seen the declines pretty much stop, and now we're hoping to start that curve upwards. And that's what everybody's predicting for 2013. Every major reports anywhere from 3% to 3.5% in regards to what the home appreciation is. And that's still also fueled a lot by the mortgage rates and things that we're seeing.
But then again, that means now is the time to buy.
Absolutely. Like we said, there's so much buying power now. We talked about that interest rates are expected to rise, at least a point this year based on the Mortgage Bankers Association report they released. But we have that new report from last week and some huge news regarding the mortgage stuff. We talked about that Fed meeting. There was a lot of concern afterwards because there was some concern from within that they didn't want to take QE4 past this year. They wanted to kind of put a curve on that. So luckily it wasn't too bad. The interest rates jumped up. Freddie Mac, we use their weekly survey, and that survey, they basically do a national survey. They call it the Primary Mortgage Market Survey, and that kind of just, it's a good gauge for overall nationally. But the interest rates, they jumped up to the highest level in 8 weeks. So that's kind of a thing like we talked about last week. Hey, there's something to watch. Everybody needs to be able to take advantage of the opportunity now. But 3.4% for a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. That, it's obviously with 0.7 points that they pay, which we can explain that in more detail if you want to call on our email. But a 15-year blipped up 2.66%. So it's up just a small amount, but we're seeing that climb. And obviously there's a few other factors in there where the bond market kind of took a hit because a lot of the stocks went up, obviously, after the fiscal cliff deal, things like that. But we're saying, hey, look, it can't remain at this point for long. We've talked about it for weeks now. We're starting to see that climb back up, and everyone's predicting that it will. In our previous shows, we talked about how that 1 point can make a massive difference in your buying power. And that's something everybody kind of needs to watch. And we're seeing a lot of buyers jump on now, where they're finally seeing, okay, it's scraping bottom, prices are going up, mortgage rates are going up, we need to jump on now. And that's something pretty important to continue to watch each and every week.
Well, 1 point is very important, but I mean, even 1/100th of a point means a lot of money over the course of 30 years.
Absolutely, even per month, where you see, that it can be 1 point can make a massive difference in regards to the amount of the mortgage payment. So huge deal for them. Everybody, obviously wants to be watching that.
Right.
One thing that we got is we are able to get a 0.025% discount for any clients with us with one of our lenders because we're able to give them a certificate based on the amount of volume that we give to give them the absolute best deal.
So if you want to find out about all the interest rates and everything else, you need to listen in or give Blake a call at 808-SOLD. That's 808-SOLD. Also, you can go to the website at blakesloanradio.com. Email anytime, ask@blakesloanradio.com. Coming up in just a second, 4 words that you need to know about. It's important to you, but you might not know. Mortgage Debt Forgiveness Act. We'll talk about that, and also short sales. They're both coming up next right here in the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan, Sloan Realty Group. Hello, Myrtle Beach. It's Glenn Beck.
That was good there.
You don't have
I was worried for a minute.
headaches and long nights that I had to experience when I finally sold my home in Connecticut because you have a celebrity right in your backyard, Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group, that guarantees to sell your property at a price and a deadline that you agree to, or Blake is going to pull out his checkbook and buy it himself. The Wall Street Journal.
When we get back from this, we'll be at about 13 minutes in.
Gotcha. All right.
National marketing program
It is for 10.
unparalleled. Most agents.
Yeah, like I said, if you get into this and if you feel like you're going longer than you want to, you just give me a high sign or say, tell you what, let's take a little bit of a break and we'll be right back and finish off talk. Whatever, just so I know where you're going with that.
Perfect.
That helps his properties sell fast and for top dollar. Blake even gives you the option to get out of your contract at any point if you're not happy with his level of service, but you never will. He's the real estate agent I wish I could have called, Blake Sloan. Call him now at 808-SOLD. That's 808-SOLD, or visit Blake's website and see his interview on NBC. That's blakesguarantee.com. Or listen to Blake's Real Estate Show every Saturday morning at 8 or Sunday morning at 9. It's the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan of the Sloan Realty Group. Before we went to break, we were talking about the Mortgage Debt Forgiveness Act. Now, we touched on this a little bit last week, but we didn't have time to really go in depth. And so we wanted to retouch on that again this week if possible. And also we wanted to bring your guest in as well. I want to talk to Randy a little bit about short sales. So let's get going.
Absolutely. These are hand in hand, obviously. So it's something that is really, really important because we were all hoping that they extended that Forgiveness Act. Obviously they did. And just a quick recap for anybody that hasn't been familiar with it. Under a law in 2007, basically debt relief on loan modifications, short sales, foreclosures were no longer taxable. Well, obviously that was expired into 2012. There's a lot of concern there because anyone who maybe is thinking about doing it, who was in the process of doing a short sale, loan modification, whatever that may be, that wasn't done completed, and they didn't have the actual, the debt that was, the amount that's forgiven, they would be taxed on that. So it's a huge thing. Someone that can't make a mortgage payment, let's say $900,000 a month, and let's say, just a quick example here, you have a $200,000 house, you either get foreclosed on or do short sale, whatever it is, for $100,000. What that would mean is you'd basically get a 1099-C from that bank, that amount that was forgiven. So that would be like getting an extra $100,000 income to your taxes at the end of the year, even though you don't have that income or didn't make it. And depending on what tax bracket you're in, that could be $25,000, $30,000 just in that one situation. Not to mention people who may be on the high end, because we saw a big hit there. Let's say they had a $600,000 house and they had a $400,000 mortgage. Now it's down to $200,000, $250,000. Boom, you have another $250,000 in a 1099. And there was huge, impacts of that, because what would happen is people wouldn't be willing to do loan modifications, short sales, and obviously that would drive more foreclosures that would come through. Right. Also, there's principal reductions that some of the lenders and banks are doing as part of the settlement act they had with the whole robo-form and things like that, and that would deter people from doing that, and it would in turn add more supply to the market. It would hurt everybody. And the other side of that, it would hurt recovery long term, because we've had people, and Randy will talk about this in a second, who've done short sales with us. They were either massively underwater, a situation they had to get out. They were able to get that short sold, no judgments, anything at all, and able to buy a house within 9 months later. And that's huge because people, if they went through this, obviously they can't pay that big tax bill. That next thing in line is a judgment, right? So they're going to have a IRS lien on you. You can't buy hardly anything, much less another house, and that would hurt so many people who definitely deserve to get right back in the housing market, sooner rather than later, because they were just caught in that bad situation. So we'll kind of talk about that. But first, I kind of want to introduce Randy. He's our head loss mitigator, short sale expert, and certified short sale expert, and that's something that's really important. So welcome to the show, Randy.
Good morning, guys. How you doing?
And we're just going to talk a little bit about some of the foreclosure myths that most people have and see the benefits of that. We obviously we have a free service, and we talked about this before. Anybody that's interested in doing a loan modification, obviously that's something fairly difficult to get done. We have a free kit you can get right on the website. It's a free do-it-yourself kit. We don't really do this much anymore because there's a lot of government pressure and stuff, and we just say, hey, look, here's exactly how you do it. A lot of the banks, will just reject those after time. He kind of can talk about that if he wants, but talk a little about short sales, how they work, and why there's a ticking time bomb. And just so everybody knows, that was extended 1 year. I don't see it personally getting extended past the end of this year, right, in regards to that, forgiving that debt. So anyone that needs to do it, they need to either get evaluation of what their situation is now, because if it's not closed by the end of the year, guess what? That tax bill, you're going to probably be liable for that, based on that situation. So we can talk about that, kind of some of those where short sale, we've had someone take over a year. So the clock is ticking. You have marketing time, let's say a month, 2 months to get a buyer for that. Then you submit to the bank, and it can take anywhere from 3 to 6 to 9. We've had over 12 months just to get it all worked out, depending on how many mortgages there are and the HOA situations, all that stuff that Randy negotiates. And we have, from what we found, one of the highest success rates in the country, where we're battling 90% plus in regards to getting those successfully pushed through, when the average MLS is around 20%. So Randy, you want to kind of talk a little bit about the foreclosure myths and certain things there that most people kind of will see and feel?
Yeah, a lot of people that I see out there and talk to are kind of confused and don't understand the whole process. They feel like if the property goes into foreclosure, they're just going to walk away. Unfortunately, they lose their house and they're done with it, but that's very far from the truth, because if it goes into foreclosure, the bank can still issue the 1099-C and still have the tax liability, but also in our state, we're not a debt forgiveness state. They can also be held liable for the deficiency judgment, which is what you owe and what it sells for. If it's $100,000, they could come after you in any way they see fit, if it's wage garnishment, asset garnishment, whatever, to try and recoup what they lost, because in our state, the banks are allowed to pursue that. And a lot of people, I think December was probably, my phone rang the most ever possible because of current clients and clients I've talked to about possibly short selling their house, wanting to know about the Debt Forgiveness Act. Is it going to be extended? Is it going to be extended? Is it going to be extended? And at one point I thought I worked for the government. I got so many calls about it. But the good fortunate thing is it did get extended, and people can get in and get their house short sold and be able to reap the benefits of the Debt Forgiveness Act being extended, because like Blake was mentioning earlier, if you owe $200 on your house, you sell it for $100, and they send you a 1099 for that $100,000 difference, and you're in a 32% tax bracket, you're going to have to write a check for $32,000 come April the 15th next year. Well, like Blake said just also a second ago, odds of them extending it past 2013 are probably slim to none, because I didn't really anticipate them doing it this year, but they did right there, I think at the 11th hour, extended it. And with some of the banks and some of the short sales, as long as they can take upwards, 5, 6, 7, 8 months, some over a year. It's very important to get in right now and get it started, because, like also Blake said, it can take a month or two to get an offer, and you don't want to get caught right there at November and you're about to get it approved, and then it takes 45 days for the buyer to close, and then you get pushed over and closed January the 5th, 2014.
Yeah, and this game over for that. It's literally that exact calendar once it's done, unless they extend it again. And there's so many people that were freaking out at the end there because they either hadn't got it finally done. There could be situations where the buyer didn't get their loan to buy your house and it gets pushed back. So there's so many things that you want to make sure that you're ahead of the clock, because Murphy's Law, something's going to come up in regards to the buyer getting closing. There's so many more hoops they have to jump through. But really quick for anybody, Randy, just may want to just touch on, okay, what exactly is a short sale? How's that a little different for anybody that may not be familiar with that?
The way a short sale works is whenever a homeowner owes more on their mortgage than what their property is worth, if say hypothetically you owe $200,000 on your mortgage, you bought it in the 06, 07, 08 window where 99% of our county is upside down unless you own it free and clear, and it's only worth $100,000, well, the bank will allow you to sell it for less than what you owe and write off that difference of what they owe so that you do not have to go to the foreclosure process, because the last thing the bank wants is to take the property back into their possession. They don't, not in the business of owning real estate, they're in the business of servicing money. And they're willing to work with the homeowner to allow them to short sell it. And there's multiple different scenarios that you can qualify for a short sale. There's dozens and dozens of different types of hardships. You know, some of the basic ones are jobs, deaths, divorce. But there's probably a list of probably 50 plus hardships, different reasons why people qualify. But the main thing is when you go in and work with the bank allows you to sell the property for the most amount possible to reduce the amount they lose, and then you can walk away without the repercussions of the foreclosure.
And we've seen too a lot of the reason that more banks have tried to do it, because everybody before was like, oh no, the bank rejected it, it was hard. What happened was they were so overwhelmed, they had so many people trying to short sell, they just didn't have the resources to, one, evaluate the property again, evaluate their situation, check their financials, because they're going to definitely dig in and check and make sure that it is the true situation that you're saying. But they're also finding out, finally throughout this past year, stats have made it very, very clear the bank's going to get a lot more money for that asset through a short sale process than they are through a foreclosure process. We see it all the time. That's because a lot of them basically are in a lot worse shape. Houses show better. They sell for more. The people who are in them when they're, the furniture's there, things like that, where it makes a big, big difference in those regards. But it's so important to make sure that you have someone who's experienced in a short sale or has that track record, because it's like going to get, trying to think of a great example here, trying to get heart surgery from your family doctor. It just doesn't work unless that person has that experience, that knowledge and know-how of exactly how to do it. Any other things that you've seen people, a lot of misconceptions or anything that may be important to people out there?
One of the toughest things I see is people that are trying to do modifications on their house and think that the bank's going to work with them, and the bank just sits there and strings them along, and I can't tell you how many people I've talked to that say they sent them every pay stub, everything. Every week that they get paid, they go to the bank, then they go to the fax machine to send it to them, and then they call them and tell them they didn't receive it, or just on and on and on. I talked to a gentleman yesterday that I've actually been talking with since June of 2012 that's been working on a loan modification, and due to some major illnesses, he can no longer afford his house. And I talked to him last night for about 25 minutes, and he said he just finally done. He said, I can't do it. He said, they're stringing me along. He said, and I've done everything I can do, jump through every hoop I can do, and I mean pretty much walk on a tightrope for them, and they're not doing anything. And he doesn't want to take the chance that he may keep going on and on and on, and then not have any other options, and then the only option he has is the foreclosure.
And the other side of that too is I can't tell you how many times we've gotten foreclosure properties from the banks directly, and there's still people in there, and they're like, whoa, what do you mean? I didn't get foreclosed on, I'm doing a loan modification. And like, no dude, your house just sold last week at the courthouse. And it's probably the most scary, unfortunate thing to see, because hey look, we feel like we're doing this, and you have an attorney who's doing the foreclosure process, a bank who's doing, and there's these different departments within the banks, and unfortunately they don't all communicate like they should, and we see it all the time where, oh, I got approved for this, but nope, it didn't actually happen. And that's one thing that we have we're so good. We have our own software we created to make sure we track how many times we talk to the bank, who we talk to with, because guess what, they lose our application about 5 or 6 times every single time, and we make sure we have proof of them getting it, who we spoke to. We have direct contacts with pretty much all the major banks to make sure we can get this in, get it escalated if needed, and manage all those, every single variable through that process. But there's so many of them on the short sale side, because you have to show, hey look, we qualify, here's our financials, but you have to show, hey look, this house is worth X amount, and they're going to send someone out to evaluate that, and we're going to make sure that all those pieces are handled correctly through that process. And we subscribe to every single, we have people that go to their foreclosure sale every single month to make sure that any properties that may have slipped through from the bank side, that we get that pulled, and I would make sure that, Randy, you've done that multiple times.
multiple times, even up to the day of, gotten it pulled off of the foreclosure
And you
auction.
literally went to the courthouse at the sale and showed the judge we had a contract and were able to get that pulled from that.
Correct. Even showed him an email that came across just minutes before the sale started saying that we had permission to postpone the sale.
And so luckily that was a huge benefit and a great way to save it. So if you want me to take a quick break and then we'll just kind of finish up real quick. But this is very, very important stuff that we know a lot of people out there underwater. The payment may be tough, and we can kind of help, get you at least a scenario there and help you further if you need to.
All right, great information. And like you said, we'll be back in about 60 seconds to finish things up for this week. Talk more about what we've been talking about. If you need more information, obviously, call Blake at Blake Sloan Realty Group. 808-SOLD, that's 808-SOLD. Of course, the website, as we've been telling you, BlakeSloanRadio.com.
Hey, it's your friend Sean Hannity. Now, if you want
We got like 3 minutes.
the national marketing plan of the realtor that you choose is absolutely critical. And that's
4.
exactly why you need to talk to Blake Sloan at Sloan Realty Group.
Okay, when we get back from this, we'll have about 3.5 minutes left.
We'll make it quick.
So about 3.5 minutes left. If I don't play the commercial at the end, which I don't think that we have been doing.
That's fine.
So we'll have 3.5 minutes for y'all to talk, and when you hear the music starting up, that'll be 1 minute to go.
We got we'll do the last deal thing last 30 seconds.
Yeah, that's fine. When you hear the music, we can do that. So yeah, about 3.5 minutes.
Okay.
Sells property every single day of the year and is ranked among the top 100 agents in the entire U.S.
So that
by
they
the Wall
have,
Street Journal.
you know,
Working with
that they
Blake
have
is
the,
risk-free.
they
If you're
have,
not happy,
is there any mistakes you guys do with it?
cancel your
that they
contract
work
or
with
pay
them,
nothing. Give Blake a call today at 808-SOLD. That's
It's very important how
808-SOLD.
many
Or just go online
short
and
sales
see
and,
Blake's
you know,
last
Guaranteed
comment, I
at
think we were your big comment.
BlakesGuaranteed.com.
Could say something about people's stuff being put out
BlakesGuaranteed.com. And be sure to listen
stuff
to
like
Blake's
that.
Real Estate Show every Sunday morning at
The
9 and
embarrassment,
Saturday
you know.
mornings at 8.
Welcome back to the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan of the Sloan Realty Group. And we were talking about short sales and got about 3 minutes to kind of finish things up here. And we've got the hot deal of the week. We'll do that right before we finish up for the day. But Blake, let's go back.
Yeah, really quick, just want to finish up for everyone. This is something that's very important to us. We're very passionate about. I've flown across this country numerous times to find out. We've met with the banks, the people, the negotiators with them to say, what do we need to make this happen every single time to get the process corrected. And Randy and I have been working together for years now to process this, and he is hands down the best person I've seen at it. We're able to, he's doing it, he's on 3 phone lines every single day talking to these people and negotiating to make sure it gets approved and done. But anybody out there could be, we've seen so many people that said they're burning through retirement, their house may be worth half of what it was. They could literally go rent the same house down the street for one half what they're paying per month. There's so many reasons like that strategic default where most people never really thought about that, but they won't get that value back out. Let's say they're struggling in payments because of the economy. There's a million reasons out there, but just so you know, anybody has any questions, you can submit in the website, call us. Like I said, we got free, no hassle, true information that we can help advise you on your best situation. Obviously, with all the tax stuff, we're not CPAs. We're just kind of passing off some of this information that we've seen and that we have here in the real estate world. But we're able to help you find those right people that can help you through that entire process. And Randy's here all the time. I'm here all the time. Randy, any last thoughts or anything we'll squeeze in for anybody out there?
One of the biggest things is I just want the homeowners to know they do have options and have choices that they can do if they're struggling with their mortgage payments or behind 1 month, 10 months, 20 months, whatever. That there are options for them. They can do things that they don't have to go all the way to a foreclosure, and can potentially the bank can offer them some money at closing to help with moving and relocation. Saw one of the toughest things I've ever seen yesterday when I was at one of my other properties I have listed. A homeowner was foreclosed on Monday of this week, and all of their belongings were in the front yard, and they were loading them into 2 pods. That the bank had somebody put their stuff out on the front lawn.
Yep, they got very crazy stuff. And we've had one homeowner got $30,000 to do a short sale, got paid that check at closing, 30 grand. So definitely call us, we'll help you out with it. That quick deal of the week, we got that huge house we were talking about, immaculate on the ocean front in Pawleys Island, behind the gate. Massive house. It's oceanfront and it's deep water inlet with a dock. And that's one of the only houses anywhere in the area that has that. We got a price $2.35 million on it. It's all day long, worth well more than that. We also just got a new foreclosure, 79th Avenue north of Myrtle Beach, 3 or 4 houses from the ocean. It's going to be a steal. Submit that, we get you access to all the deals for anyone else.
Wow. So if you want to get information on all that stuff, 808-SOLD is going to be available there?
Absolutely, all the time, 24/7.
Like you said, all day long. All right, Blake, thanks so much, and thank you for listening this weekend. We'll be back again next weekend with the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan, the Sloan Realty Group. It happens every weekend at this time. Again, 808-SOLD, 808-SOLD, 843 is the area code, of course. The website, blakesloanradio.com, and the email address, ask@blakesloanradio.com. Thanks for listening to the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan.